The Rangers finished off a season sweep of the White Sox with two of their postseason heroes, Nathan Eovaldi and Corey Seager. With the Rangers putting both Travis Jankowski and Robbie Grossman on waivers, it had some questions. Is it because of cheapness, or is it something else entirely? We're going to talk about all that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into what it means for the Rangers putting those two World Series champs on waivers, some concerns about Ray Davis' pocketbook that could lead to Texas possibly losing Nate Eovaldi in the offseason. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Now, the story of last night's game was two things: Nathan Eovaldi being exceptional and Corey Seager hitting milestone homer number 200 of his career to give the Rangers the lead. The Rangers would get one more run off an RBI from Wyatt Langford, but really the real hero of this game was Nathan Eovaldi having one of his best starts of the season, 7 shutout innings, a season high tying 10 strikeouts, just one hit, a little single up the middle, a couple of walks, and he looked absolutely fantastic. But there are some concerns with Nathan Eovaldi in the long term. Mainly, is he going to be back next year? I don't know. There are definitely some questions on that and some questions about the Rangers' pocketbook. I talked earlier this week about Ray Davis not extending Chris Young a contract offer, how I am starting to get a little bit more concerned. Went back and looked it up. Someone in the comments made me aware of this, that GMs can work without a contract extension because those contract extensions usually take a long time to happen. So just because Chris Young's contract is up after the season doesn't mean that he can't keep working as the Rangers GM while they are hashing out the finer details of that point. It happened with Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers, and I can't remember the other couple examples of that happening, but there is precedent, so maybe I was a little bit too alarmist on Wednesday's show. But still, losing Nathan Eovaldi is a real question at this point. Now, his contract that he signed was an absolute bargain. The Rangers, really got an incredible deal when they signed Nathan Eovaldi to that 2-year deal. Helped them win a World Series. Has been the best pitcher on the team since the Rangers signed him. Was an All-Star, was a World Series champion, was absolutely a workhorse in the postseason, and the Rangers don't get anywhere near winning that World Series without Nate Eovaldi's help. But the questions with Eovaldi, as they have been with pretty much every free agent starting pitcher, or just every starting pitcher on the entire planet, is can they stay healthy? And this year, for the most part, Nathan Eovaldi has. Last year, he made 25 starts, 144 innings. This year, at 24 starts, 140 innings after his 7-inning start. Last time out, the Rangers have 28 games left, so he's got 5 starts from now until the end of the season remaining to get 16 innings is what he needs for that contract vesting option, $20 million player option next year. If he pitches 16 innings from now until the end of the season, he will have accumulated 300 total innings in his first 2 seasons in Texas, which would trigger that vesting player option for $20 million should he decide to take it. That question's up in the air at this point. But can the Rangers afford that? Well, at first I said yes, absolutely. Then I went and looked at Spot Track for the Rangers, what they have on the table on the books for next season. And I thought, oh, most definitely they can afford it because, looking at what they've got on the books, according to Spot Track, the Rangers have $90 million in room for next season before they hit the luxury tax, which they would not like to do. They would not like to be multi-time payers of the luxury tax because every dollar over that threshold, once you have gone into it multiple times, becomes taxed at a pretty high rate. So I don't like it. I don't support it. It's not my money, so I don't really care how much is spent. But I understand Ray Davis's prerogative, but there is still plenty of room to be maintained before the Rangers get to that luxury tax threshold. And Evan Grant of the Dallas Morning News wrote about this and if the Rangers could afford to keep Eovaldi. Evo obviously didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to take away from the team in the season. But one of the numbers that he brought up of what the Rangers will be paying in their payroll next year, he uses Baseball Prospectus's estimate of $249 million payroll. Now, $249 million is a lot. It is over what the tax threshold is, but it was very different from what Spot Track had listed. So I went and looked at Spot Track. I went and crunched the numbers. And as of right now, Spot Track has the Rangers at $170.75 million in payroll next season on the books. That is $93 million in tax space, as they say. I'm not so sure about the tax space being $93 million, but I went and looked at exactly who they have on the books. 9 players so far. Jacob deGrom, $40 million. Yep, that's accurate. Seager, $32.5 million. Yep. Semien, $26 million. Sure. Nate Eovaldi's $20 million option. That's in question at this point. Then Malley at $16.5, John Gray, Adolis Garcia, and then they had the options for David Robertson and Andrew Chafin. Robertson's mutual option is for $7 million that next year. I don't think that gets exercised because I'm pretty sure he's going to test the free agent market and make more than that. And Chafin, well, I don't think the Rangers are going to exercise that club option for $6.5 million next year because he has not been all that great. So, but all those numbers add up, around $70 million. So I went and take out those two options. That's $13 million off the table. So right now we are at $170.75 million. Take all of that off, and we are at $167 million. And according to according to Spot Track's numbers, about $106 million in tax base. So, what's making the difference in that $80 million or so? Yeah, around $80 million in difference. Well, they don't have any of the arbitration guys or the pre-arbitration guys or a couple of different bonuses. So I went and I did the math myself. I went up and looked how much about we can expect for the Rangers to pay in arbitration. They've got 6 guys under arbitration next year. Nathaniel Lowe is going to be in year 3 of arbitration. He's making $7.5 million this year. So for first baseman in year 3 of arbitration, he's probably going to make around $10 to $12 million. Jonah Heim, ballpark at around $4 to $5 million, maybe even less than that. He's making $3 million this year and has had an awful year, so maybe $5 million is a bit too high. Leote somewhere between $4 and $5 million. Dunning $4 and $5 million. Josh Smith is really interesting. Not sure. I kind of ballparked that around $2 to $3 million, and then Spores also around $2 to $3 million. So ballpark all that to say those 6 guys will cost anywhere between $26 and $33 million. All right. Now we're getting closer to what Baseball Prospectus calculated. Then you've got 8 guys pre-arbitration. This is the guys who have not yet hit 3 years of service time. They are, just as me just projecting, the Rangers could have more or fewer of these guys depending on, how much time they play in the big leagues. But I'd say about 8 guys: Cody Bradford, Jake Latz, Jack Leiter, Kimmer Rocker, Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter, Josh Young, and Ezekiel Duran. That's around $750K for each of those guys, so that's $6 million. Okay, now we're getting closer. Then there's $18 million in benefits and pre-arbitration bonus pool. Okay, now we are sitting at around $217 million to $224 million. So still about $20 million off of where Baseball Prospectus ballparked it of around $249 million. We're still quite some ways, and that is including Nate Eovaldi's $20 million player option, should he choose to take it. If not, then we are $60 million, $40 million away. No, we are $60 million away from where all that was expected to be. Okay, so we're sitting pretty. We've got around 5 roster spots to add up after this. Say Eovaldi declines his option. Okay, that's $20 million off. Say the Rangers sign him back in free agency. He's ballparked around $25 million per year. I know this is a lot of math, and we're getting there to the point. But say that's the case. All right, you add $5 million for that. Add $12.5 million for Yates and Robertson each. $12.5 for Yates, 11 for Robertson. That's still 3 spots on your roster. Right now, we're at $235 million. Still plenty of room to play for. 3 spots to play with. All right, $1.5 million for a backup catcher and Travis Jankowski back. That's $3 million. So still, now we're closer to this. But the Rangers still have 1 roster spot. Say throw in a pre-arb guy there. All right, we're still $12 million shy of that $249 million. Still shy of the tax. Still have some room to play with. So where could the Rangers save some money? Should they save some money? Or are these ballpark figures just completely off? Plus, we're going to talk about Corey Seager and where he stands among the greatest shortstops ever after his 200th career home run. Right after this word from our sponsors. This show is brought to you by Liquid IV. When you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's Popsicle Firecracker flavor, a surefire summer hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. Blast off with their iconic flavor of Popsicle Firecracker, a festive blend of citrus-fueled lemon lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. Find all your favorites on the website from acai berry to lemon lime and pina colada as well. Tear, pour, and live more, because 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than just water alone. There's 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients as well. So no more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Now, I just threw probably too many numbers at you right there to get to the point of what I was trying to say. Can the Rangers afford Nate Eovaldi? Well, with that roster as constructed, the only free agents the Rangers would sign are, Eovaldi back on an average deal for what Spotrac says his value should be. Yates and Robertson back on a little expensive for free agent relievers, but still, if they perform what they did this year, absolutely worth the money. Then just end of the bench role guys signed, and then say that 1 roster spot we had left. Say you throw in a pre-arb guy, say Jonathan Ornelas or what have you. Somebody takes it that final roster spot. You're still sitting pretty around $5 million shy of the competitive balance tax. That's at $241 million that year. I have you at $238 million. So around $3 million to play with, assuming my math is, taking into account some margin for error. So that's still below the tax threshold. And so this question of can the Rangers, it boils down to this, can the Rangers afford to bring back Nathan Eovaldi? Absolutely they can. The ideal situation is that he throws at least 16 innings from now until the end of the year. He decides free agency is kind of a nightmare. I like being in Texas. I feel like this year was an outlier. He obviously wants to compete. He wants to win because he is at his best on the biggest stage. And he says, okay, I'll take that $1 million, that $20 million option and bypass the free agency thing on the whole. That would probably save the Rangers about $5 million for his salary next year. They can still go out and afford to go get back Robertson and Yates, still have money to play with. And even if they don't want to bring back Robertson and Yates, there's some interesting guys the Rangers could backfill that with. I think in free agency, your biggest priority is probably bringing back Yates and Robertson. They can live probably not well without Nathan Eovaldi, but still, I think bringing those three back, if you do nothing else in free agency and just fill all those other spots with pre-arb guys, you're still probably $10-15 million shy of the luxury tax. You're not worried about that. With whatever numbers baseball prospectus, I don't know how they got to $249 million without signing guys in free agency. Maybe they even did include some free agent signings. That's how they got the $249 million. But still, if the Rangers want to go a similar route in free agency this year as they did last year, they've got some internal options in the rotation. They would be pretty shy on depth and banking on John Gray and Tyler Mahle and Jacob deGrom and Kumar Rocker and all of them to be healthy and good. And that's a risky gamble if you are going into 2025 trying to compete, which this team absolutely should be. Because if you got a Corey Seager on your roster, you have got to be competing. Because Corey Seager is, without a doubt, in my mind, one of the best shortstops of all time. And that 200th home run that he hit in his career just kind of solidifies himself. He's finally getting those counting stat numbers with the Rangers because he's been healthy, because he's been so good. That kind of puts it in perspective of, oh, this guy is one of the best shortstops of all time. Now, it was kind of funny how there were so many qualifiers put on it of the first left-handed hitting primary shortstop to hit 200 home runs, with the majority of his games being at shortstop and actually just left-handed and not switch-handed hitting. I was like, who are they trying to leave out there? So I went and looked up, and right now, in terms of just as a shortstop, we're taking out home runs that anybody has hit at any other position, whether they were primary shortstop or whatever, just the home runs they've hit as a shortstop. Corey Seager has hit the 10th most homers as a shortstop in the regular season in Major League Baseball history. The guys ahead of him, Cal Ripken, Alex Rodriguez, Miguel Tejada, Ernie Banks, Jeter, Francisco Lindor, Jimmy Rollins, Troy Tulowitzki, Barry Larkin, and Corey Seager. Now, Seager's hit 200 home runs in his career. 199 of them have been as a shortstop. One of them was as a third baseman, and 8 of them have been as a DH, but 191 of 200 is pretty impressive numbers. I'm sure he will get up there too. If he keeps up this pace, I mean, it might be a little bit of a reach for him to expect to pass Cal Ripken Jr., because Cal Ripken's at 345 homers as a shortstop. Right now, Seager is at 191. He's got 7 more years under his contract, and he's probably going to average at least 33 homers per year as a Ranger. If Texas can keep him healthy, then, I mean, who knows? Maybe 300, 350 career homers is on the table for Seager. If he keeps up this pace, say 7 more years at about 30 home runs a pop, that's 400 career home runs. Now, I don't know if he's going to keep that up for the rest of his tenure in Texas, but I mean, who knows at this point? The Rangers have kept him healthy. He has been hitting like crazy with the Rangers. How long he stays as a shortstop? Well, I think he's got at least 2, maybe 3 more seasons. We'll see where the Rangers are at with him defensively, but this is an all-time great shortstop. This is one of the best shortstops ever. I mean, you look at the guys ahead of him, and you think about what Corey Seager does best, which is be dominant in the postseason. One of only 3 guys to win multiple World Series MVPs. You look at everybody ahead of him on this list. Everybody, all 9 of these guys, they have combined for 1 World Series MVP. That is Derek Jeter back in the year 2000, year 3 of the 3 and 4 that the Yankees won, the only one of his career, and Seager's got double the amount of World Series MVPs as Jeter, and he's only 1 home run shy of tying Jeter for the most home runs by a shortstop in the playoffs. And Jeter played about 100 games more than him in the postseason. I mean, I know this season has been frustrating and a lost season, and we're not going to get to see Corey Seager go nuclear in the playoffs this year, but just seeing him do this consistently, just because he's a baseball robot, don't let that make you forget how special this is, how incredible this is. that this guy is going to be in Texas for 10 seasons. I've already had 3 of them, and he has been an all-star in all 3 of them. He has been a World Series MVP. In one of them, he has been a Silver Slugger. He had not, for Shohei Ohtani, been doing Shohei Ohtani things last year. He would have won his first regular season MVP, but alas, that's not how it works. I think he'll get a regular season MVP at some point in his career. It's going to be some heavy competition. He's still, at this point, as of right now, tied for the most home runs in a single season as a left-handed hitting shortstop. Gunnar Henderson is 3 ahead of him right now, has tied his career record at 33. Henderson has really slowed off. Seager's at 30 on the year. He could pass the young shortstop in Baltimore for keeping his record, extending it, which I think would be very, very fun to see. Oh, Gunnar Henderson was on pace for like 50 home runs to start this year. Well, he's slowing down. He might only hit 40. And Seager, well, with the pace that he's on in the month of August, he might end up hitting 40 as well, because he has just been on legendary pace as of right now. So if you're looking for reasons to still watch this team down the stretch, don't forget to enjoy Corey Seager's greatness. But a couple of players you might not be seeing from now until the end of the season. Maybe you'll see them on Friday, or maybe a little bit on Saturday, is 2 guys the Rangers placed on waivers, in Robbie Grossman and Travis Jankowski. But why did they do that? Was it just cheapness, or was it something else entirely? We'll talk about that right after this word from our sponsors. This show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, because unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it is just you against those numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends. Become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Think Tyreek Hill will get more than 90.5 yards in Week 1? Aaron Jones run for more than 66.5 yards? Cook up some hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks apps today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive your $50 bonus because it is guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. Now, yesterday afternoon, during the Rangers game, while I was literally looking at Travis Jankowski on the field, ESPN's Kylie McDaniel broke the news that the Rangers had placed both Travis Jankowski and Robbie Grossman on waivers. Now, I was a little confused watching the Rangers play Travis Jankowski while apparently he was on waivers, because I was thinking that was the same thing as just cutting a player. But no, that's not the case. My initial thought was, okay, Ray Davis, this is what the Angels did last year en masse, of just cutting so many different guys just to get under that luxury tax threshold. The Angels went for it at the trade deadline, but with Shohei Ohtani on the sidelines, at least as a pitcher, from about mid-August on, and them going on an absolutely terrible skid from being right in it at the trade deadline to very much not in it by the end of August, Artie Moreno said, yep, I'm going to cut so many of these players loose. And it was just a cost-saving move to try and get under the luxury tax threshold. You thought, okay, that's an embarrassing look for the Angels. Don't be like them next year. Well, that was my first thought as to why this is happening. But that's not really the case. It's not saving the Rangers all that much money. It would save around $200K for each of those players, so not even $500,000 for the both of them combined. So why would the Rangers do this? Everyone loves Travis Jankowski. He's a clubhouse legend. Same with Robbie Grossman, for all my complaining about him that has not been warranted this season. Jankowski, he's had 2 absolutely incredible moments this year. Not much else beside it, but still an amazing clubhouse guy. Why are the Rangers cutting these guys? Well, they're not outright cutting these guys. They're more giving them a chance to be on someone else's team. More specifically, a playoff team. Because if these guys go through waivers and they aren't claimed by a playoff team, then they will be back on the Rangers. They can still play with the Rangers from now until that deadline to claim them, which is 11:59 p.m. Central Time. Maybe it's 10:59 p.m. Central Time. Yes, it is 10:59 p.m. Central Time on Saturday. If someone claims them, a playoff team, most likely, I don't think some team out of the playoffs is going to put in a claim on them, then these guys can go on a playoff run. The Rangers can open up a roster spot and a 40-man roster spot to clear the way for some young guys in September to come up without having to have the awkward conversation of, okay, well, we love you vets, but you are not playing anymore, or just straight up outright cutting them, which might end up being the case because the Rangers are going to need to clear some 40-man roster spots in a minute. There are some obvious candidates of guys who could be just straight up cut loose, but if you can cut loose a couple of guys and give them better opportunities to go somewhere and win and do nice things, then that would be the nicest and the easiest way to clear up a couple of 40-man roster spots in Robbie Grossman and Jankowski. Because the Rangers are going to need one, for sure, when DeGrom comes back. He's pitching again on a Sunday, so we will see if he gets up after that. That is the plan. So sometime during this homestand, after his rehab start in Round Rock on Sunday, we will see when Jacob DeGrom will be making his debut. Since he's on the 60-day IL, it will necessitate a 40-man roster spot opening. If both those guys clear waivers, that's one spot. And then you have some room to play with for getting Jack Leiter back up here. I think he is still, I don't think that would necessitate a 40-man roster spot. But if the Rangers want somebody else who's not right now on their 40-man roster to come up and pitch from now until the end of the year, that could be one way to do it. Another way to do it could be just shutting down Max Scherzer for the year. I know he would absolutely hate that, but that is looking more and more likely as we are now a week after he was supposed to have his first rehab assignment, that we have heard nothing since about how ready he is to start a rehab and eventually come back. That is another way to do it. There are also some other kind of obvious candidates that I don't think the Rangers would love to do, but I'm surprised they haven't done at this point. Sam Huff, who has been having a mediocre season in AAA and after, I believe, 4 option years, is just kind of settled as the Rangers, I think, see him as a quad A guy, a guy who's not really a major league regular. There's not really going to be a spot for him next year. I think he is absolutely going to get left off of the Rangers 40-man roster or taken off the 40-man roster this winter. So doing it now just gets a little bit of extra time there. There are some guys who could end up getting spots and making a little bit of their opportunity from now until the end of the season. Maybe seeing Emiliano Teodo up here. I think that would be interesting. He's not right now on the 40-man roster. If Rocker gets a start or two from now in the major leagues, then that would necessitate a 40-man roster spot. So there are some ways for the Rangers to get these guys up, but those two would be the easiest way for the Rangers to get those roster spots and also to get some more playing time for guys like Zeke Duran, guys like if they call back up Justin Foskey, which I think they should, but getting plate appearances for the young guys and not letting Bruce Bochy just keep playing those older guys who, God bless them, clubhouse loves them. But when you are in a lost season with a month left, you got to see what you got in those young guys, and this is a way to do it. Speaking of Kumar Rocker, though, he is finally cracked back into the MLB Pipeline's top 100 overall prospects. He had been on the list previously for about 45 minutes last year. Yeah, you heard me right. 45 minutes before he underwent Tommy John surgery. It was very quick that he was taken right off of that list. It has taken till now for him to crack back onto that list. Still listed as the Rangers' number 2 prospect. I think that is entirely too low at this point. I know it's just been 6 starts that he's had between AA and AAA, but they have been absolutely sensational. The fact that they have, I believe, 22 different pitchers ahead of him on the top 100 is crazy to me. His fastball sits 98. It sits 98. Not averaging, not topping out, but it is sitting there at 98. And for starting pitchers, the guys who averaged 98 miles an hour in the big leagues on their four-seam fastball, as a starting pitcher, there are 2 of them. Paul Skeens, Jose Soriano. That's it. That's the end of the list. I know the movement profile on it isn't great, but the curveball is one of the best pitches in minor league baseball right now. And I don't care what the shape of that fastball is. He's also got the sinker that's averaging, I believe, 97.5 miles an hour in that first start. For me in AAA and AA, it looked like it was also averaging around 98, so maybe one start outlier. But guys who do that do not come around all that often. The fact that Major League Baseball, or MLB Pipeline, specifically, thinks that there are 22 better pitching prospects in the world in Major League Baseball right now than Kumar Rocker is kind of insane to me. I know it's a small sample size, but we're going to look back at those rankings as maybe as soon as like May of next year and think, he probably should have been a little bit higher. But that's going to do it for this week's shows. A shout out to Alejandro Rosario. I didn't have time to talk about him or Blaine Krim, who have both been on absolute heaters as of late. I'll maybe talk more about that on Monday's show after this weekend series against the A's. Hopefully we will be looking forward to some more good things, some more fireworks from Corey Seager, and some more great starts from Nate Eovaldi from now until the end of the year. But that's going to do it for this week's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.